Welcome to the East Bank Sports Show, proudly brought to you by the Fanatical Elves, a member of the Fans First Sports Network. Broadcasting live from the vibrant East Bank of the Flats in Cleveland, Ohio. Join us as we delve into the heart of Cleveland sports. It's your hosts, Noah and Matt.
Welcome back into the East Bank Sports Show. Happy Monday, everybody. We have a Browns heavy episode to get into today. Matt, how you doing, man? Happy Monday. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm excited to be back. Missed a week. I'm sure everybody missed me, but now we're back to normal. Good to go. Let's get into it.
Yeah, it's been a very up and down, off and on last couple of weeks with vacation season. John was off on something, and then we had the people who all lost power and all that go on, making John miss another week. So I'm glad to be back in the swing of things and having a regular show today and a regular show on Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern for the East Bank Sports Show at the office on Wednesday. But today, Matt, we got a lot of stuff to talk about because the Cleveland Browns have been playing they're 2 games into the preseason now, right? And, there's been a lot of reactions online, a lot of reactions on Twitter, a lot of reactions, everywhere people are posting on social media. And I kind of want to go in and talk about what's been going on with the Cleveland Browns. So the first topic I want to go into today, who is QB3? Is it going to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson or is it going to be Tyler Huntley? Matt, I'd love to hear your take, man.
I think for a handful of reasons, it makes too much sense for it to be DTR. It has to be DTR. I mean, in my mind, I look at a few things. You look at this preseason specifically. Neither one of the two quarterbacks have really, shocked me, really been like, that's the one I want. I've seen plays from both of them that I was pretty impressed with. In the first preseason game I was at, Huntley looked really comfortable in the pocket the times that I was paying super close attention to what he was doing. And then in the other game, DTR impressed me a little bit and looked good at some points. I think when you look at it, though, DTR is younger. And then I can't let go of last preseason when he looked absolutely electric. I think if you're putting stock in one guy to be the long shot, project guy, DTR fits the bill. Obviously, Huntley's not a project, long-term guy. He's an emergency guy. I think DTR makes way more sense than Huntley.
Yeah, so this question for me, and I agree with you, first of all, I think DTR should be the guy that makes the roster right now, whether that be because of his play right now, because of his fit being a younger guy that you hope to develop, that kind of thing, everything you just said. I also want to point out that, Tyler Huntley has had some moments, but he hasn't done anything fantastic in the preseason. I think there's a chance that we're able to cut him and put him on the practice squad, and he actually stays on our practice squad. I don't think you have that same chance with DTR because of how young he is and all the reasons, Matt, you brought up, basically. I think DTR is going to get stashed on the roster for that reason, and I think Tyler Huntley is going to go get stashed in the practice squad. Now, when we're talking about who the true QB3 is, however, I do think their goal is to not put DTR on the field at all this year, other than maybe some of those packages we used with him, those quarterback keep packages and stuff they were using when Flacco was there. I don't know if they'll bring that back or not. Brand new offensive coordinator. That just popped into my head while I was talking, that he did get some PT on some special packages last season. That being said, though, I think if it were to come down to it, say Deshaun goes down, Jameis goes down, I don't think their goal at QB3 would be to play DTR. I think their goal, as soon as one of those quarterbacks go down for an extended period, be to call up a Tyler Huntley. Don't let me say this and everybody groan, but maybe trade for a PJ Walker and bring him back, or another quarterback that is familiar with our offensive system, whether that be from when our OC was in Buffalo or whatever. I just don't think DTR is the guy in terms of actual true QB3, like our emergency quarterback, but I do think he's going to take that spot on the roster because of all the upsides that are still there for him to develop as a prospect. What do you think of that, Matt?
I think you're absolutely right in terms of, you rank the 4 quarterbacks we have, DTR ends up at 4. But due to his situation, he's going to have to be the rostered quarterback or he will end up on another team. The one thing, though, that scares me a lot, and personally, I want DTR. I like that spark we saw last year. I'm still in love with it. The one thing that does scare me, and I feel it's worth mentioning, is we went out and we signed Tyler Hunt. It's not like, oh, we just have him. Oh, like somebody just threw him in a trade package to dump him onto us. We went out and we signed him. That worries me that, the GM or whoever was behind that's going to be like, guys, we're not coming out here and signing the guy just to cut him and maybe try to get him back to our practice squad. Like, that's a silly looking move. I'm worried that we might get a little political and be like, oh, well, we can't do that. I don't think we will, but I feel like it's worth mentioning. We go out and sign a guy. I think the odds of us turning around and cutting him before the following season go down dramatically.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now to see how long his contract is, Tyler Huntley contract, because I'm curious how long. So it was 1 year, $1.2 million. So the ability, to cut him isn't anything crazy and to do what I said, but I do see what you're saying as well, because they did go out and add them. I just think the Browns were being as not optimistic, as cautious as possible because of the injury situation last year. I think that's the main reason you're seeing this, because they want to have a lot of good, different, young, mobile-esque quarterback faces in this room as early and often as possible. 1.2 million is a drop in the bucket for a salary cap in the NFL. But we'll see. Roster cuts are after this weekend's game against Seattle. We're going to cut to commercial break real quick. When we come back, we're going to go in and talk about some other stuff surrounding this weekend's preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks. We'll be right back with the East Bank Sports Show. And we're back with the East Bank Sports Show. Hope you enjoyed those commercials. Real quick, if you haven't subscribed, haven't followed us on socials such as TikTok and Instagram, please do so. 99% of viewers on YouTube are not subscribed to our channel, and it would help us grow the channel a ton if you hit that red button down below. Matt, I want to get into something that, I was talking with John actually last night. John, the guy who runs the Fanatical Elves Network, about this in our group chat we have with all the affiliates of Fans First Sports. Shout out Fans First Sports for all the commercial placements and everything you do for us. Really helps us grow this brand a ton. Are you upset with the lack of starters from the Browns this preseason? And to give some context before you give me your take, Matt, John's upset for multiple reasons. He's seen other NFL teams play their starters thus far. An example, Jordan Love played against us in the first game. And he's also a season ticket holder and has to pay for all the preseason games, even though he is watching what has been, piss poor football, because we're not running our entire scheme on either offense nor defense. We put in blitzes for the second week. We weren't blitzing in the first week of the preseason. So that's the context of how this kind of came up. But what are your thoughts on the lack of starter play from the Browns this season? And then I'm going to spin it before we go into our final topic of the day. Go ahead, Matt.
So I'm going to cling on to one of the things that, you said John brought up and was kind of upset with here. And I'm going to target that. He said, according to you at least, I wasn't there, obviously, he's upset because he's seen other teams do it. You know what other teams don't deal with? The injury history of last year for the Cleveland Browns football program. No other team dealt with anything even remotely similar to that. You're absolutely insane if you think a single one of our starters should be jogging out onto that field. Yeah, maybe like safety 2 versus safety 3 should be out on the field. But if you have safety 1 locked up, he's not touching the field. I'm sorry. I'm not putting him out there for a game that's meaningless in a game where he can get hurt.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how many people who are returning listeners, but a couple episodes back, I said the one thing I wanted to see out of the Browns this preseason is no starters touch the field because of the injury history we had last year and honestly into this year. I kind of want to spin this question too real quick, and then we can kind of go back and wrap the whole thing up. The Browns went down not one, not two, but three offensive tackles in this last preseason game. They are scheduled to have the starters play a couple series, drives, whatever. We'll see how many times Kevin Stefanski actually has the starters trot out there on the field this Saturday against the Seattle Seahawks. Saturday, I believe. What are your thoughts about that whole thing, man? Because I am nervous now to trot Deshaun Watson out there with I don't want to call him a scrub because he is still in the NFL currently, but you know what I mean. We're talking bottom third string offensive lineman at this point, blocking full-blown starters for what is supposed to be our franchise quarterback. What do you think about that, Matt?
I wouldn't be mad if we didn't run him out there. I actually think I would be happy if we didn't. But I feel like Deshaun is sitting there going, guys, I want to get into this game. I need to get game time in before the season starts. I feel like he's going to want to go. And at the end of the day, they're probably going to let him get one, maybe two drives in. But I feel like with that tackle situation, he can't be on that field super long.
Yeah, I see two different scenarios playing out here, right? Scenario one, we trade a pick within the next 48 hours for a backup tackle because we haven't been very impressed with James Hudson or any of the other tackles that have kind of been floating around as the backup swing guy at that tackle position. So I think we can see that happen. Or if that doesn't happen because there's nothing out there that the GOAT Andrew Berry really likes, you're going to go in and watch Deshaun Watson throw a bunch of checkdowns and 2-second reads to get off the field as quickly as possible to let him warm up a little bit, let him get some of that game time because, you know, Deshaun Watson has been a slow starter religiously throughout his entire NFL career, not just with the Cleveland Browns. I want to remind people of that before we go into week one and he has like a 200-yard, 2-touchdown, 1-pick game. And everybody's like, oh, he looks mid. Anyway, I think that is what you're going to see out of him is let him get some warm-ups, but especially if we're working with backup tackles, man. Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin are both not slated to play again this week already from all the reports that I've seen. So with that being said, I'm fine with, a bunch of 3-yard curls all the way down the field for a field goal for Jake York. Yeah, but what I want to go back to are you upset unless you have any other thoughts about this Deshaun Watson playing situation. I don't get why and I wrote an article today for Fans First Sports about this. I don't get why we as NFL fans, and it's probably every fan base, but I'm deeply rooted in Browns Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube videos, et cetera, et cetera. I don't get why we as a fan base get so wrapped up in the preseason. We went 4-0 the year we went 0-16 in the preseason. It doesn't matter to me. It makes no sense why you care that much. Go ahead, Matt.
I love seeing all these people online that are, like in the comments of the final score post from the Browns. And they're like, oh, we're so cooked. It's so over. Plan another parade for 0-6. Like, you're watching the fourth string guys battle for their jobs right now. This is not our starting roster. Relax.
On top of the fact that they're running probably what is 25 to 40% of what their actual playbook is. They are running the base formations, base, inside, outside zones, base route concepts. They aren't doing anything fancy. And this team has religiously done this under Kevin Stefanski. Hell, we go out there and the field isn't completely painted yet. We're wearing the same uniforms back-to-back weeks. Like, they are visually showing you that we do not care or are invested in the preseason. They are using the preseason to basically evaluate the bottom half of their roster to figure out who's going to make the 53-man and move on to the games that actually matter. They have been doing this for years underneath Kevin Stefanski, and I hate to break it to you because I know there's people that hate him. You included sometimes, Matt. He's here to
Not
stay for
sometimes.
a while. He is here to stay for a while. So you better get used to the preseason games not mattering jack all. That's just me. Matt, anything else you want to touch on about the starters?
No, I think your little rant there just about covered it all.
Fair enough. So one last thing, we kind of wanted to go into this, coming out of the preseason game into Monday, I believe roster cutdowns will be announced or on the verge of being announced for the Cleveland Browns the next time me and Matt sit down to do another episode of the East Bank Sports Show. That being said, I just realized the logo's not showing and I don't know why. Okay, it went up that time. Regardless, I'm sorry about that. I wanted to talk who is one winner and who is one loser from the Browns preseason thus far. And I'm talking players, maybe it's a coach, maybe it's Matt, I want to hear your take before I get into mine.
So it's actually kind of funny, if you think back to approximately 30 seconds ago in the conversation we were just having about don't overreact, don't freak out. I mean, I'm going to start with the biggest loser, and that's Browns fans, because we've had to watch horrible football so far. But I need to explain that.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to cut
because
you
I
off.
agree
I'm
with
sorry.
you. No, I agree with you. Go ahead.
We've watched horrible football. As a football fan, I want to watch great football. But that comes with the understanding of the rant that Noah just went on. Hey, we're not watching the Cleveland Browns first team. I can't be mad that it's not great football. It just sucks that it's like, it's dangling there right in front of me. You're going to watch a football game, but it sucks. It's horrible.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That's been my biggest gripe with the preseason for years. I went to the game on Saturday with Eric from the At the Office brand, and it was a good time. I was glad to be back in the stadium and doing the hoo with all the other Browns fans and all that, but it isn't NFL football, man. My biggest loser for, I guess we're starting off negative because Matt came in hot here. My biggest loser for the Browns preseason thus far is former, I believe, third-round pick for the Cleveland Browns, defensive tackle Siaka Ika. I think this dude is in danger of being cut from the team because I have not seen much of all that I really care from him. His pass rushing ability is non-existent. They run it towards him every time, and at 335 pounds, you should be able to stuff the gap, and he hasn't been able to. I just think he's the biggest loser here because he is in jeopardy of not being in this roster anymore, even with the likes of the stuff going on with, Mike Hall and some of the other injuries and small tweaks that have happened in that defensive tackle room thus far during training camp. I just I don't see him having a home in Cleveland for much longer. But I can also digress that because Andrew Berry does like to stick with his picks for longer than maybe he should. Shout out Anthony Schwartz. Because, this is a third-round draft pick from last year, but he has looked pretty pitiful, in my opinion, in terms of watching the film and watching back the games. Matt, do you have a biggest winner from the NFL preseason for the Cleveland Browns?
I'm going to expand it just a little bit more than just, the preseason football games. And I'm going to say my biggest winner is Jameis Winston for the reason of, you see all the social media posts from the Cleveland Browns with him involved, and the fan base is already loving it. The fan base is already in on the dude. He's become, from what I've seen, very popular in the Cleveland football team already. He does that everywhere he goes, and I think that's awesome for him. That's a win in my book. I hope he loves Cleveland as much as we're seeming to love him.
Yeah, I'm with you. He is one of my favorite highlights from this preseason, the running with Vrabel. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but he did a quick interview with Pat McAfee. That interview was fantastic. It was hilarious in the Jameis Winston ways, but it was also good to hear the hindsight and the foresight into the Browns locker room that he's had to see. Pat was asking him about the culture building that the team has done, since the 0-16 season, and now with finally having a stable head coach, GM, blah. My biggest winner is kind of an underrated winner because I didn't know where you would go with this one, but I want to just shout out Isaiah Thomas, the defensive end for the Cleveland Browns. I believe he got a sack. Let me double check this real quick, because now I am double thinking that I am saying the wrong player. No, I'm right. I don't know. I got to be more confident in myself, I guess. Had a sack, blew up a play in this last game against the Minnesota Vikings. He has been an up and down roster player. He is from Oklahoma. He was actually boys with Perrion Winfrey, so I was excited when we drafted them both. Fortunately, obviously, Perrion Winfrey did not pan out in the NFL for reasons that we don't need to get into anymore. But I think he is making a good name for himself to be one of those fringe guys on this roster. He was a 7th-round pick in 2022. He has stuck around in the Cleveland Orange and Brown for the entirety of his career, whether that be injury-wise or what have you. But I think he's making a good case for himself. I love to shout out. You could shout out all the wide receivers that have been having a good preseason. I wanted to shout out a defensive guy that has jumped off the paper to me at times, and just give him credit where credit is due. Matt, I want to go into final thoughts and takes. I love our nice conversation flow of us just going from boom, ba boom, ba boom into topic to next topic. I'm having a good time with it. Final thoughts and takes. Matt, take it away, my man.
You're having a good time with this episode. Time to ruin it. If it weren't for Cleveland Guardians starting pitching problems, I would not be the only person in Cleveland that is calling for Bo Naylor's job. He's protected by the fact that we don't have starting pitchers, and that's what everybody focuses on.
Why are we going after Bo Naylor? I thought we'd talk a little bit about the team being up and down again, but okay. That's fine. I'll take whatever you wanna do. You're just going for the meme at this point. I see what you are. For me, I am becoming cautious, not because I think this team can't do what I think this team is set out to do since they started out hot and continue to be hot into the end of July. I'm just nervous because the Twins are gaining on us in terms of the AL Central pennant. And I really want to see them do something in this Yankees series that starts tomorrow for the next 3 days, I believe. We just got word that Chase DeLauder got called up to AAA, which is dope. But we also heard that Alex Cobb is going on the injury list for a little bit longer. And I just want to see this team do more than what they are. They get really hot for a minute, and then it feels like they just sputter out. And maybe it's because we're so good at home, because they've been doing really good at home still. But the Milwaukee series was tough to watch, and I'm nervous because the Yankees are the Yankees. As much as I hate them, they are the Yankees. To see what that series turns into being come tomorrow. But I guess we'll find out, right, Matt?
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be a big series to indicate where this team is at coming down the stretch into the push of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. Matt, is there anything else, Guardians, anything else, final thoughts and takes wise you want to get into before I wrap this thing up and send us home?
I'm all good.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in live, tuning in on where they watch their podcasts and such to the East Bank Sports Show. I almost said at the office. It's been a long day. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you check us out on TikTok and Instagram. Make sure you check out all the Fanatical Elves channels, X account, Facebook page. This is where we normally typically go live. But, my own personal Twitter gets the live push now, as well as our YouTube channel. So I want to shout out Fans for Sports for all the extra access to the streaming content that we do here. Helps us out a ton. And until next time, Cleveland, I just want to make sure you all know to have a great week. See you on Wednesday.